having a moment, and I feel like, you know how like Taylor Swift put out all these albums, like here's an extra track. Books are doing that now. Yes. Here's a different cover. Here's different colors. Here's an extra chapter. Here's a different point of view. And it's driving me crazy.
And I feel like, I don't know if this is true, but I feel like Fourth Wing, like last November when Fourth Wing came out in paperback and they had the little dragons on it, that to me was like the first time I feel like that became a thing.
Yeah.
And now that everyone's redoing it, and I'm like, and I literally have a video I took of a table where it's like every single book.
Well, and then they have for the ACOTAR the Night Court version, but like the series isn't finished. I'm not buying.
No.
Wow, we really went on.
I know. This is the one I need to replace.
I know. Same.
But
it doesn't match.
Tuesday is supposed to come out on paperback.
Here?
In Barnes & Noble. And I'll be curious to see if it's this thing or if it's back to the normal size.
But then, like, what do you do with your extra copy?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Give it to a friend and hope they forget.
Like, you have to get the first one, but I got the second one.
I'll give you this one. You can't have my first one.
I feel like we should leave this in. This is funny banter.
I know. I'll have to go back and find a good place
to start it. Yeah, but how about we just welcome readers?
Here we are.
Another episode of the Bougie Book Pod. I'm Kara.
I'm Kira.
And we clearly love to yap about books, not just the story, but how they're put together and what they look like.
What a wild start.
Yes. We love books, and we are back with Iron Flame. We did Fourth Wing last time, and now we are on the second book. As you can see, this time I try to get cool, and I made my tabs. There's not a lot of tabs, but
I literally have a piece of paper.
But yeah, we were talking about like not only going through a summary and our thoughts and theories, but pointing out like certain quotes and things that stood out to us. So that's what I did.
Those are all your quotes? I picked 3.
Well, because then I started thinking about certain scenes, and so it's mainly like some of them are the quotes, and others are like this scene. Like this scene really got to me.
I tried to get a variety of.
Well, I'll start before we even like do our summary, and just say like the first thing I tagged was literally the very first page, where it says, the following text has been faithfully transcribed from Navarian into modern language by Jacina Nailwort, however you say that. All events are true, and names have been preserved to honor the courage of those fallen. May their souls be commended to Malak. And initially, like, first reading this, is like, who the fuck fell? Who died already? And this made me so nervous, because it's like, okay, everything that has happened has been preserved as a history. How many of our people are dead? What actually happened? What shit show am I about to walk into?
Which is funny, because I actually hate this. I hate at the beginning of the books, these 3 in particular, when it says like the following texts have been transcribed.
Yeah.
Because all I hear is like, you watch a show and it's like, the following events you'll see involved. And I'm just like, okay. Like this, I feel like is trying to make it seem more real. And I'm like, I'm reading a fantasy book. I know this is not real.
I read this and I'm like, and it gives me anxiety immediately. Like, oh, great, I'm walking into something.
I will say the amount of times I did have to go back, even though this is the second book, and look at how the squads, they'd be like, oh, the section leader of the flame section. I'd be like, okay, what again?
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, that's funny.
It's nice that she's got like little graphs and bars and charts for us, because I need it. So I'll just get straight into it. Iron Flame, the second installment in Rebecca Yarros' Empyrean series, continues the saga of Violet Sorrengail, delving deeper into the complexities of war, power, and personal discovery. This episode, we hope, will try to explore key plot developments, character arcs, fan theories, and comparisons maybe to some other series. As usual, spoiler. We cannot talk about this book without giving away all the things that happened, because that's where our theories are coming from.
I don't know how I could.
I could never talk about this without giving away the things that have happened, because so much happens. Look how thick this bad boy is. So if you haven't
short
read
though.
it's short, but it's thick, and it doesn't match its brother, and it really bothers me. So as we were talking about earlier, when the new one comes out in the US, hopefully it's the same size. I don't know what I'll do with this girl, but we march on.
I have to get rid of it. I don't know.
Yeah. Donate it.
So obviously, if you've read the series, you know Rebecca doesn't. Most fantasy readers or authors, let's be honest, don't end a book in a nice, peaceful way because obviously you want to go read the next one.
Yeah.
So we pick up on like that absolute massive, which they're all massive cliffhangers.
Yeah.
From book 1, just to recap, when Violet wakes up and it's her brothers there, and Xaden's like, I told you I knew someone who was really good at mending, and Violet's like, WTF is happening? I just learned griffins aren't bad. I learned this. My brother's alive.
Venin is real. Yeah, my brother is real.
And so that's where they pick up. Interestingly enough, I do like that Rebecca doesn't throw us like forward. We're literally like still there, like in the bedroom, like right after Violet
it's like as if you were watching a movie, you hit pause.
Yep.
And then you came back.
And I really like
straight into it. I love that too.
Because sometimes you end on a cliffhanger, you pick up the next book, and then it's like, let me tell you a story about my childhood. And you're like,
like, no, I just want to find out what happened.
I just need to go back to where we left off, actually.
Yeah.
So I really did appreciate that because it just flowed so well.
Yeah.
And I felt as though if you took time off, because like, for people who read it, like when this book, book 1 came out, book 2 came out, like there's some time in between. And if I feel like it would have helped. I didn't have a lot of time in between, neither did you.
No.
So, but it was a really smooth.
Yeah, like I was able to get right back into the story.
I really liked that.
Yeah.
Which, here's the thing. My first quote happened so soon that I picked up.
All right, let's talk about it.
So after they leave, I also realized I'm so loud on this podcast, so let me chill out.
It's okay.
So sorry.
People can hear you. I have a quote on page 8.
Oh, dang. Okay, then you need to go first.
Oh, okay.
Because you're right there.
Okay. So, it says, Xaden may be gorgeous and powerful and terrifyingly lethal, which shouldn't be the turn on it is. But I can't trust him to tell me the truth about, anything.
This was my biggest gripe. Did you pick that because you saw what I said my biggest complaint about this book was?
No.
Oh my god. My biggest gripe and complaint about Iron Flame is the constant cycle of Xaden. I can't trust him. Xaden won't tell me anything.
Yep.
And then Xaden being like, you just need to ask. And then Violet being like, but I can't trust you. And then Xaden being like, just ask me.
Yeah, and she's like, but just tell me everything.
You just need to tell me everything.
Yeah, and he says, but you just need to ask. So, okay, there are times where I get frustrated with her.
I couldn't do it.
But then I get frustrated with him. It's like, she's asking you just to be honest about everything. Yes. I think you don't need the question. Just tell her this is what's been going on. This is what I know so far.
And like, obviously we'll get down to like what happens in this more. And like, he does give a valiant effort that like for Xaden to tell, but it was just like, that one was killing me in this book.
Yeah.
That constant cycle. So that's interesting.
But I do want to make a point that for the character of Violet, I want to say there has not been a single fantasy book where I haven't at some point had an issue with the main character. But even though I'm saying like this bothered me a little bit, this back and forth between them, I still, and this is having read the 3rd book now too, I still feel like as a character, Violet, the whole way through, I was with her.
Correct. I agree.
So like if we think about like ACOTAR, Feyre, there were times where I was like, girl, I'm not with you anymore, right? And then even like her sisters, like, okay, it's enough complaining about this. And then if I think even earlier back to like Twilight, there's a whole book of Bella where I hated her guts.
Yeah.
And then if I even think about Harry Potter, I think it was book 5 where he was just like, everybody hates me. There was one book.
Order of the Phoenix?
Order of the Phoenix, yeah. Where like, everybody hates me and it was poor me. I mean, yes, poor him. But you hated Harry in that book. There hasn't been a moment really in this series that I've hated Violet. Certain moments where I'm a little annoyed, but I've never hated her. And I kind of some of the things that she does, and we'll get to it, that could be a little annoying, I recognize, I think I do that too. I've done that, or I've said that, or I felt that. So it feels more real as opposed to girl.
Violet does kind of mimic what women, I think, will do in certain situations.
Yes. And you also have to remember she's 19, 21. Like, she's young, okay? So young girls feel stupid things.
Okay. We have to take a pause and a sidetrack back to Agatar because I can't stop seeing this on TikTok.
Okay.
It's what you said the moment about like being annoyed with Feyre. I hope people have seen this. It's like the slide. So there's like 2 pictures and it's like Lucian about to die because Feyre can't read or whatever, you know, in the trials.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to the picture of like the weird like animated dog with like a bow in her head, and it's like, I picked 2 because me and Tamlin are 2 people and I'm in love. And I was like, oh my god, where was this like a year ago?
That's perfect. I do remember reading that and thinking, that's your logic for 2. 1 + 1 is 2.
And me and Tamlin are 2 people in love. Anyway, I had to say that.
Violet would never.
No,
Violet would punch somebody who
Violet would be like 1 because I don't need anyone.
Exactly.
Anyway,
yes.
Sidetrack off to that.
Okay.
But so after they make the choice, they have to go back to the War College, obviously, because like, what are they gonna do?
Yeah.
And this is where my first quote comes up. My 3 quotes that I picked. I don't know how many you have over there.
I have quite a few.
On our fat little guy, it is on page 42, which I was like, dang, it took us this long to get back to the War College, but I guess it does.
Well, yeah, because they're discussing a lot in Orisha.
Yes, yeah. And it's right at the end of the chapter. And like they walk into the center of the rotunda, like the whole gang that like we're supposed to just go off and die. And they're
I know.
And they're reading the death toll, and like they're all nervous about this. And it's like, you know, Garrick, I love him. He says like, you'd be unfortunate to make it all 3 years and die on graduation day. And Xaden's like, I'm right, blah blah blah. And then Captain Fitzbiggins, Gibbons, which by the way, who's that?
Don't know.
As I reread this, I don't know who that is. And he's reading the death toll, and he says Garrick Tavis, Xaden Ryerson. And then Xaden goes loudly, well, this is awkward. And every head in the court. And like, I love that because it's just like, it's classic. Like Xaden and Garrick, like their banter to me is so funny throughout the book.
Yes. And it's awesome because even in the 3rd book too, there are a lot of moments of levity where we've got so much going on, but then you have like these little crumbs of like at one point, I didn't write it down, but there's a part where they're trying to do something and Violet is thinking back to when she used her daggers to climb, and someone said it's like, oh, it's 8 inches, and Dane says no, it's 7 inches.
Yes,
and someone
wow, says, I've never heard a man
really, really saying that it's smaller, and I was like, oh my god. But like, and this is the moment, like literally seconds later, somebody dies. So it's like all these like moments of levity in there.
There were really 2 inches quotes on this one. Do you remember the other one?
No, I don't.
Oh my god, it's when it's gonna snow or something, and they're like, someone, I don't know if it's Violet, someone says like, oh, it looks like we might get like 7 inches tonight, and Xaden's like, more than that if you're lucky. And I'm just like,
I don't remember that.
Excuse me. But I feel like Garrick and I say Riddick. Garrick and Riddick, between the 2 of them, Riddick not so much in Iron Flame, but a whole lot in the 3rd book. Those 2, like, their comments didn't even annoy me.
Yeah. Like,
Riddick wasn't even, like, at some points to be like, oh my god, he's just being, like, class clown, but I enjoyed it the whole time.
I did
Garrick,
too.
He's got some good ones in here.
And I think Riddick is so needed in that group. That type of personality, they need someone like him. And so what I'm afraid of is at some point something is going to break him. That would be devastating.
So anyway, once they get back, they present themselves as alive and well. And of course, everyone is like, WTF just happened. And, you know, the team that sent them off to die and knows what's happening. I wish I could see the look on their face, like Colonel Ados. I say Ados.
I say Ados too.
Colonel Ados, when he's like Yeah. Like, are you shitting me right now?
What's the other one? Markham?
Yeah, Markham.
He's
just like
guy.
And then Varnish. Oh, yeah. I hate him.
Yeah.
But like for them to just be like,
oh, you made it. Right? Yeah.
And then you just know that you have these people now that are back that you tried to cover up. And that's what sets this whole book into like they have to cover up.
Yeah.
And try to silence. I don't even remember how many riders.
But I was a little confused by how when they came back they decided to play that game, Violet and the crew. Like, why didn't they come in like guns blazing, like this is what they did to us? Maybe it's because they're the marked ones and people probably wouldn't have believed them, but Violet was with them.
And that's what I wonder, if they needed the time, not only like the time to like continue to like get the supply, like their little, that little thing, or also the time. Like, I think they were playing such a mental game with the leadership.
Yeah.
And then,
well, and now that I think about it, Orisha was, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, such a big secret that I guess if they had gone in guns blazing, then that secret is out. And then those people would have been vulnerable. So they had to play the game. It
was like they had this huge secret that the government, or whatever you want to call that, is keeping, but then they had Orisha, that's how I say it too, as their secret.
Yeah.
And it was just like.
But then it's like when we go back to that first line about, and I can't trust Xaden.
Yeah.
Well, now Violet is keeping secrets from everyone.
Oh, yeah.
She's not telling her mom and her sister that the brother is alive.
Yep.
She's not telling her closest friends what actually happened. So I don't know how. I mean, at some point she does make that connection, but for such a long time, even though she feels guilty about keeping those secrets, it's like she doesn't realize this is why Xaden was keeping secrets from you.
Yeah.
Because it's about security here. And like everything is very kind of precious at this point.
And I wonder if it's the shock, because Violet herself went through it, and I was kind of looking at one of your notes about Venin and having to like process this, because she was so shocked because they're a mythical creature. And it's like a bedtime story to scare kids or whatever. And so I wonder if it was the fact of like, she knew what she went through and like not believing and understanding.
Yeah,
I don't know.
People would think maybe she was just crazy.
But I genuinely, the same thing I had to, even when I got into Iron Flame, not even far off of reading Fourth Wing for the first time, I had to go back to Fourth Wing and kind of like reread the end, because it's like everything's flipped and so much happens, and it's like, okay, where were they sent again?
Yep.
Okay, the Griffins are part of what land? Where, and that's the other thing, is I don't do a good job with this landscape. I don't understand the provinces, who's part of what.
Me either.
And then it's like, and then I was like, okay, now let's talk about the Venin, and that was a hard.
Yeah, I had to reread because I didn't fully understand what they even were. And as I was reading, I was getting the understanding, and if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, that they take their power from the earth.
Yeah.
Like the magic that's in the earth. I don't know how they do that, like something they all have access to, but they choose not to do.
Yeah.
But I feel like that doesn't make sense to me, because if Venin doesn't exist, how would they even know to take or channel from the earth? I'm just not really sure how this works.
Yeah.
But it's like there's like this extra magic that's not given to them from dragons, that they can just take it.
And it's like there for everyone's taking?
Yes, but the way they make it seem is that it destroys you as a person. Yeah. So immediately I'm thinking Voldemort, like, because like every time he did something evil, it took something from his soul, and like he was losing his humanness.
Yeah. And
so that's kind of how I'm picturing the Venin, because they're saying they've got like these red rimmed eyes and like they look zombie-ish, or like the pale skin or whatever. So I don't fully understand how one becomes Venin.
And we're saying this as people who've made it all through all three
books. Yes, I've read the third book.
That's the thing.
And I still don't know how people become Venin, or how people like. I wonder. I should have probably researched if Rebecca Yarros explained it in an interview or something, because, like I said, if everybody believes that it's just like Venin doesn't exist, it's just some fairy tale, then how did these people learn to take magic from the earth?
Is it like we have control to not do crack cocaine?
Yeah.
And people don't have control to do crack cocaine. And then they lose their life to it and it sucks their souls.
Yeah, I guess so.
Dude, I don't know.
What's happening in that moment where you're like, oh, I'm going to take this from the earth. Like,
yeah, I agree.
It kind of makes me think that, and I'm going crazy now, that the people who become Venin are supposed to be Venin. As if like maybe something calls to them and that's why they get that power. So then I start wondering, are they actually bad or are they made to be bad?
I've had that debate too.
Like, just like there are bad people of all sorts of groups, I'm sure there are bad Venin, clearly, because they're killing people, right? Yeah. But what if there's a group of them that they just want to exist?
Yeah, I agree.
Who knows?
Yeah, the Venin thing for me, I still struggle with. And I'm hoping I need to like do some research, but then when the 4th book comes out in however much time, I hope I have a better understanding of it.
Because then my second question is, if they are so big, bad, evil, why does this government or whatever not tell people about it in a way of like, we need to be careful. We need to warn you of their existence. And so why hide it? Why hide it?
And I wonder if it is because they close their borders to everyone else and like the Griffin Riders and all of them are just getting annihilated by the Venin. And so they don't want their citizens to see them as like terrible people because they closed off their borders. I don't really understand that either because like I said, I don't even understand this dang map half the time.
Yeah, and it's just like if you see another province or whatever being wiped off the map, what is it making you think that that's not going to come after you next? Yeah, lots of questions there with this government. I don't understand. So the secrecy of it and us not understanding what these Venin are yet, I'm wondering if that's tactical by her, and at some point we're going to learn that the Venin really isn't the enemy.
That happens, I feel like, a good amount in some fantasy series. Yeah. Like, all of a sudden you're like,
oh, these weren't the people I thought they were.
Which I wish was explained a little bit more because I liked Iron Flame. But there's just a lot of time in Iron Flame. So, like, they go back to the college. Things are just, quote unquote, normal. Other than maybe some attacks happening to certain people that were there and whatnot.
Oh yes, like one by one
they start getting like picked
off, like assassinated or
and like they try to attack Violet and whatnot
several times.
But there was such a good chunk of this book that it should have felt repetitive, honestly, but I still liked it.
Yes.
So
like the back and forth.
Correct. So the situation occurs where Xaden is now a lieutenant because he's older, and he gets shipped off, of course, to like the farthest place he could be.
Yeah.
Which separates their dragons, and they have to alternate weekends. So like Xaden gets to come up to the War College this weekend, the next weekend Violet, and of course they just make their life hell and like do anything they can to stop them.
Because the power that being the two of them together are not good for them.
Yes, which there were definitely parts of chapters where I like this was bad of me, but I was like, okay, Violet's just at college and she's trying to get more information, and I'm like, okay, let's move this along. Those parts I was kind of like, okay, but I think I kind of liked it. It made it more like when Xaden and Violet were together, it was more important.
Yeah.
And I think I really cherished those moments, even when they were arguing or like Violet showed up and Xaden had like duty or something, like stuff like that. Their separation and the time they spent apart, I did appreciate when they were together, except when they went through that cycle of like, I don't trust you still, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I think the separation was actually good for them. Because even though she was so mad and distrustful, she missed him.
Yeah.
And she didn't have that close proximity like they had the year before. So that distance kind of made her weigh, what do I care about more? Yeah. Being angry or being with him? Which worked in his favor.
Yeah. Which, during this whole time, she eventually has to and I don't remember why, and so enlighten me if you remember. She does have to tell her friends. And I don't know if it's like Ree gets it out of her.
No. Oh. It's after she's tortured.
And it's when she comes back. She also comes back from where is he stationed?
I don't remember.
Anyway, he comes back from there, and she remembers she was supposed to bring like daggers back or something, and they always check her bags before and after she leaves, and she like makes it to the dorms or something.
And they get her.
And Ree can like grab items. And so she knows something, and she grabs the item, and she pulls her into her room and is like, okay, what the hell is going on?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't remember if that's when she tells everyone or just Ree.
I think it's just Ree. And then, but what I love about that moment, I wish I had found the quote. Basically, Ree was just like, okay. You know, there wasn't much question to it. She was just like, you're my best friend. I trust you.
Yep.
I got you. And, you know, she could have turned her in. She could have gotten her killed. And she didn't. And I thought that was really cool. But then it was like, you know, we have to tell everybody. We have to tell our squad. Because I really loved in this book how much of a family this squad was.
Yeah, and I feel like they get almost even closer in the third one, even though they're not necessarily together the entire time.
So in this year, they have to go through training of like interrogations. And so they are told that, you know, at some point we're going to pull you out, and it's going to feel like a real interrogation. Like there's going to be something that we're asking of you, and you cannot, you know, you can't fail your squad. And they pull all of them, and man, it feels, you know, they're all feeling like this feels a little real and not like a trial here. And that's when I believe, maybe I'm wrong, I think that's when she tells everybody, because there's a moment where they're all alone and she's like, all right, I have to tell you.
It's like her, Ree, Riddick, Sawyer.
Yeah.
Is it just the four of them? They're in there getting their interrogation.
Yeah, and she's like, okay, I'm really sorry, but this is why this is so much harder on us, because this is what's going on. And they were like, dang, you know, why didn't you just tell us? But I really loved how they were like, okay. It was just so quick how they took her in and accepted her truth. And we're like, okay, we got you. We're going to stick together.
I appreciated Sawyer more in this book.
Yeah.
In book one, you just kind of felt like, not like he's the kid that got held back because he's intelligent. He just didn't get picked. We just kind of feel bad for him. He's just like, yeah, like this is how you do things. And he has like the expertise, but I didn't feel them like connecting with Sawyer in the first book necessarily. So I liked that he was developed a little bit more.
You know, now that I think about it, I think a lot of the things that happen in this book are meant to be. And so I kind of look at Sawyer now as he wasn't supposed to be picked that first year because Violet and the squad weren't there. Like he's supposed to be with them.
Oh, yeah. I agree. So, yeah, and they go through a lot of also like being dropped in the middle of nowhere and having to like make their way back. They have to function with other pieces. Like, so they have, when they get dropped, I forgot what that practice is called. They have like a scribe with them and like they have to function as like a unit, which they failed miserably that first time.
Yeah, they did.
I don't know if you remember that, but they
were bickering the whole time.
They just, the scribe, I'm sure, is just like, F you, said.
yeah.
Like, and you know, that one didn't feel like as serious. You were like, oh, they're gonna make it out. But then what's his face's dragon shows up out of nowhere, and they're like, oh, we could actually die out here.
Oh, that's right.
So they do go through that, and like they still are, you know, training and sparring, and
they're getting stronger, they're getting closer, they're becoming better soldiers, for lack of a better term, a stronger family, a better unit. And then Violet's taken. And it's her turn to be interrogated, but it's not a part of the interrogation process. They've got her.
It's a varnish at this point.
And the worst part is that was Nolan?
Yes, the mender.
The mender. He is a part of it.
Yeah.
And he's drugged her so that she's shut off from Xaden. She's shut off from Tairn. She's powerless.
And he is able to mend her back to the point where Varnish can just continue
beating her almost to the brink of death, basically. And he's just like, just tell them what they need. And she's just, you know, it was just kind of heartbreaking because she relied on him so much. He always took care of her. And here he was, like, allowing her to be broken over and over.
Nolan is really interesting in this one, too, not only for that, but because he is seen, like, everyone sees him, Nolan's exhausted. He's always working on some, like, weird project.
Yes, because before this, you know, she was getting hurt, but then Nolan can't see her, and it was just kind of weird. Like, why is he never available?
And they start, like, thinking there's something going on. I don't know what... the clinic. I don't remember what it's called.
I don't remember what it's called.
Anyway, but they're like, there's something going on there, all that stuff. And so Nolan wasn't like super important. Like, you know his name from book 1, but book 2 is where it's kind of like, oh.
Yeah. And so I marked page 383 because this is where she's being tortured, and it's like days now.
I have one right at the end, so this is perfect.
Okay, good.
383, got it.
383. It's a couple of days that she's just in and out, in and out. And, you know, she wakes up, she hears, like, the drip, drip of whatever, rain, whatever. And then she hears, sleep if you can.
Oh, yeah.
The suggestion is soft, the voice so achingly familiar that I squeeze my undamaged eyes shut. You're not really here. You're a hallucination from pain and dehydration, a mirage. Maybe, Liam says.
Yeah.
Or maybe Malik sent me as a kindness. Okay. I chose this for a couple of reasons. One, sweet baby angel Liam.
Yeah, love Liam.
Love him. But 2, has me wondering, was she really hallucinating? And I did see that Rebecca Yarros said, yes, this was a hallucination. Don't read into it. But it just...
Yeah.
He was with her. So basically she's seeing Liam throughout all of this. Nobody else can see him. And when they're talking to her, she's not responding to them. She's responding to Liam. And it gets her through this moment. And I just thought it was so powerful and so sweet. And it was kind of making me think like maybe there was something more to it, that she's got some sort of sense, or that he really is there. I don't know. What do you think? Or maybe I just wanted it
I think that's, yeah, I agree. Like, you're like, okay, it is a hallucination, but I have seen a lot of people say, like, they wish so badly that there was something more to that. Like, Liam was still alive or something.
Or not alive, but like she had some sort of ability.
Yeah.
Because in this book, they start talking about second signets. And so their signet is that the power, that special power that they get from their dragons. Now, apparently, some of them have a second if their dragon was bonded to someone in their family line or something like that. And so suddenly, I forget who the first person was that we realized, oh, there's a second power.
Like Bodhi or Garrick, I think. Yeah.
And so these weird things start happening, and you start wondering, well, what is Violet?
Yeah, which is interesting that, like, from the beginning, I was never like, oh, 2 dragons, you get 2.
Yeah.
Because, like, she stops time in the first one, but it doesn't feel like it's Violet stopping time.
No, it was Andarna, like, letting her do it in some capacity. And then, so it had me thinking, like, there was something there. But then there were other things that she starts doing or experiencing that I'm like, oh, I think this is what her second signet is.
Yeah.
And then we learn about what Xaden's second signet is. But before we get to that, next one.
The next page? What page?
No, not the next page. Oh, this is more about Liam, so I'll just move on to the one that I really... So she's being tortured.
What page are you on?
I'm on page 397.
Okay.
And again, it's been days.
Oh, this is Garrick and Xaden?
Yeah. So it's days now, and they bring in Dane.
Yeah.
And this is where my heart really sinks.
I think it's been 5 days.
Yes. And this is where my heart sinks, because they need to get more information from Violet about what exactly they're doing with the weapons that they're stealing, and where Arisha is and what's going on, right? And so they bring Dane in to touch her and get the truth. And, you know, she's all messed up, like her eyes like hanging out, and Dane comes in, and Violet's trying so hard not to let him in, but he does. Yep. He gets in and he sees her memory, and he says things to her in a way that you're like, oh man, he is a bad guy. He's frustrated. But then he also sees the Venin. He sees what she went through. And
because Liam tells her, show him what you want him to see. Show him what you want to see,
yeah. And he fucking saves her.
Yeah.
And he kills Varish.
I keep saying Varnish, like the product. I just realized
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, Varish.
And he kills him. He stabs him or whatever. When you think that he was going to do something to Violet, but instead he hurts Varish, and he's just like, can you run? You know, and they get to go out there, but as soon as they're about to leave, I love the line before it. It says, I look up into the wrath of Dun in the form of gold-flecked onyx eyes, and you know who's there.
Yeah.
And so Xaden comes to save the day.
And
this is the line. This is the line, though.
Who's with Garrick?
And he says to her, there's nowhere in existence you could go that I wouldn't find you, remember?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a little late, but...
So it's funny because I picked one. Mm-hmm. This scene of like, so we've got Xaden, we've got Garrick, we've got Violet, who can hardly function on her own. And now you've got Dane. And Xaden is like, Dane, you need to decide where your loyalty lies right now. And anyway, they're like having this discussion. All this stuff is happening. There's just like a bloodbath. Mm-hmm. And they're talking and they're getting supplies. All of a sudden, I like this. You know, they're like, can you walk out of here? Blah, blah, blah. They're all just talking. And all of a sudden you hear Garrick call out from like the stairwell somewhere. He's like, Xaden, we have a problem. Dane's like, oh my God. And Dane's like, I can carry her. And then like he and Dane go back and forth on who's carrying her. And then finally they realize, oh yeah, Garrick said something about a problem.
Yeah.
And I like when it was like, what kind of problem, Garrick? Xaden asked as we round the corner. He goes, a general size one. Garrick answers, his hands in the air. My mother's blade is at his throat. But my quote is, when it comes down... I
wonder if I did the same one.
It goes, you know, she says, Mom, you know, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, who do you kill? She directs the question at Xaden. He goes, everyone. She nods.
I highlighted that one too. She nods, then drops her blade. It's like, yes, that's what I wanted.
And then she gives her the antidote for the serum so she can connect with her. But oh my gosh, it's just when he goes, everyone.
Yeah, and she's just like, good, okay. And then I also marked the page 403 when Mom is talking to her, and basically like she's talking about how she should have been a scribe or whatever. And she was saying, you know, like, no, Markham, that was his mistake. He made the mistake of thinking you'd be easy to control, but I know my daughter. Yeah. And it's like, at this point, I marked this because it's like Mom knows more than what she's telling Violet about who Violet is, about what's going on in the world, and about what Violet is going to have to do.
Yes.
I feel like at this point in time, Mom and Dad had a very specific plan for Violet. They taught her like a scribe so that she would have that knowledge to be able to put it to use.
And it is, you start to see like Violet's, I don't want to say like the reason Violet's mom is the way she is, because she definitely could have done some things better. But you start to see that she's not just a bitch. There is a reason she put her through all this. And then you start to realize the one relative that is so out of the loop is her sister.
Yeah.
Mira is just like, I'm a writer.
What is she there for?
Like, Brennan's alive. He knows all about this stuff. Mira doesn't know Brennan's alive. Mira just like takes her orders, does what she needs to. Clearly Violet's mom, there's like this huge plan that's been in place. Secrets between her and the dad and all this stuff. Violet knows about the Venin and all this stuff. And Mira's just like, I'm like, oh my God.
But what I love about Mira is that once she learns about all of these things, she quickly, okay, I'm in. Like when she learns about Brennan, I think she punches him.
Yeah, she's pissed.
She's pissed. But she recognizes, which I think is pretty cool, she recognizes the gravity of the situation everybody is in, and she realizes, I really don't have time to process this right now and be angry. I think she puts it in her pocket, and I definitely feel like she's the type of person that, like, I will be mad about this later, but right now we have to figure some big mysteries out.
So then after this happens is when things escalate, correctly?
Yes. Yes.
Is there time in between the escalation, or it's kind of escalates?
No. So she is saved by Xaden. Mom lets her escape.
Yes. And then they go out and they
go out to like the quad. That's how I kind of imagine
how I picture it too. And they're like, hey, here's what's happening.
Yep.
You need to make here's the truth. You need to make the decision if you're going to come with us to Orisha or if you're going to stay here.
Where do your loyalties lie? Like, what do you want to do? So it's kind of like, if you're going to stay here, you're staying here because you know what's going on. And surprisingly, the mom allows this.
Yeah.
And she allows people to make your decision. Where are you going to go?
Which is super interesting because even professors make the decision.
Yep, professors leave.
Yeah. And okay, but here's my question. So I'm with it. Everything's with it. Where do we meet Kat?
Okay.
Is that after?
Okay, she's my next quote.
Good. Because
we've got to talk about this. We've got to talk about this. Okay. So, all right. So I wrote down here that Violet's relationship with Xaden, I was saying Riorson. How do you say that?
Oh, I say Ryerson.
Ryerson. I'm just going to call him Xaden. So I was saying Riorson, but maybe it's Ryerson. Sorry. Anyway, they've got tensions, right? And then we have the arrival of an ex-girlfriend, Kat, a Griffin rider with the ability to heighten emotions. And I want to talk about her. We meet her, I think, back in the first book, but we don't know that it's Kat. At some point, I feel like in this book,
right at the end of the first one?
Yeah. But she doesn't know who she is. She's just there, like, with the exchange of the weapons and stuff. And there's
what's the other chick's name?
Something with an M, I think.
Marin?
No,
did I make that up?
No, I don't know. It sounds right to me. But at some point in this book, before we meet good old Kat, I think it is Marin. I don't know if it was Bodhi or Garrick. Somebody says to Violet about how, like, you really need to give Xaden a little more credit because he's never been like this with anybody, not even Kat.
But he used the... Did he say Kat or did he use the... No, he does. He says Kat, and then when we are introduced to Kat, they introduce her initially with her full name.
Yes.
And I immediately was like, that's Kat. Clearly Kat.
Yeah. And that's when she's like, Kat, like, who's that? And like, oh, no, I didn't mean anything.
We meet Kat because her uncle is royalty somewhere else. And I just forget in this book why they go over there. And I don't know if it's because Orisha needs that support.
Yes, they do. Okay. They do. They're like an ally to them.
Yes.
And so anyway, we meet Kat, and we find out that at some point Kat and Xaden were betrothed as like a royal agreement because they wanted for these two provinces, or whatever the fuck we call them, these two places to come together. And so by having them together, that's what it would be. And
what page are you on?
I'm on page 556. Figure out what quote that I've got feelings about. Every time Kat came up, I had certain feelings.
Kat was like, honestly, she would do things for me that were like too cringy. So like they have to go to this palace, and that's where they are, and it's like Kat's uncle and whatnot. But she just like, okay, we've all been the ex. Wait, what'd you say? 556?
Yep.
We've all been an ex, but she is like too much for me.
Yes, and I hated every freaking second of it. So at some point, so when they're at Orisha, they kind of, because the professors have gotten there, they take in Griffin riders as well. And they're basically redoing Basquiat, however you say it. And they're redoing like the way they did college there. Like they're having lessons and they're doing...
Even though the Griffins are little pansies, You can't fly too high in the air. You can't do this. Like, dear
so like
God.
they're still doing lessons and they're still training and they're still doing like battles on the mat, whatever. And so one day,
God.
Cat gets to call out Violet and they're gonna battle on the mat.
I think I know. I can see where you're saying.
So they're you know they're in the thick of it, and it says, I'm gonna read this whole paragraph because Cat follows me down, leaning her forearm against my throat and cutting off my air supply as she leans in, her mouth right next to my ear. You seem angry, Violet. Are you just now realizing you're nothing special? That you're just a convenient placeholder he can fuck? Her laugh is low and cruel. I know how good he is. I'm the one who taught him that little trick he does with his fingers. You know, the one where he curls? And then it goes, I see red and throw every ounce of my rage into the punch I deliver to the side of her ribs. And at this point, Violet almost kills Cat. And in the moment, I'm feeling like, Violet, you really need to get a hold of yourself.
Yeah.
But also, this has been building.
Yes.
Cat's constantly making these little snide comments about how like she's the more royal one. And it's really playing on...
Which is so cringy to me.
It is cringy. But it plays on these insecurities in Violet that it was making me mad at Xaden.
Yeah.
And I really, like, I'm reading this book and I'm not gonna lie, I was huffing and I was puffing. I hate this girl. And and I brought, like, Izzy was like, what is wrong with you with this book right now? Why are you getting so mad? And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna tell you why I'm getting so mad. Because now his ex-girlfriend is there. He never told her that this was his ex-girlfriend. And Izzy was just like, well, why would he bring up who he dated or who he slept with before her? Like, why does that matter?
Guys are like that.
I know.
Girls are like, I'll tell you about everyone.
Exactly. He's like, but I don't want to know who you were with before. Like, he's like, that doesn't matter. This is what's now. And then, like, I start reading more, and then Xaden has that same conversation with Violet, and I was feeling a little sheepish that, oh my God, I even wrote that down. I forgot that. And I was feeling, oh my God, I acted exactly the way Violet did. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying, how she is a character that I never really hated because I relate to a little bit of that insecurity. And so one of the next lines I have, because I think this is important, because I think it's real. Well, first he takes her aside and puts her in a chair and does things to her. And that's really interesting. But he tells her basically, like, you know, I don't care if you kill her.
Yeah.
But, like, that's really not what this is about. And he explains to her that, like, Cat can't plant emotions in your head. She just amplifies what's already there.
Yeah.
And he basically calls her out. Like, you already have some insecurities and jealousy. And that you need to work on that. And he basically, like, tells her, listen, I love you and, like, this is us, but you have to figure that out because she's going to drive you crazy.
Which is so ironic. I won't say anything else.
Yes, because in the third book.
Because Xaden meets someone. Anywho.
And so it is Marin. So a little bit later, she's feeling better and she's feeling a little dumb that she let Cat get to her. And then she passes by Cat a little while later, and she goes to Cat. You know that trick you mentioned? You know, the one with the fingers? Thanks.
Yeah.
And it was like, and that's when she was like, I'm gonna move on from this. But
I got Violet in all of those situations. It was Cat that was just so strange to me. Because, like, I don't know if you've ever, like, dealt with people or your friends have dealt with people where the ex is like, oh, well, he did this, and it's just like, okay, but you're not, like, together.
It's cringy on their part because it's like, you can't let go of that. Like, I hate when people can't move on when people have not chosen them or chosen to move on. You need to as well. It looks really bad on you. Yeah. But she was just making me mad that whole time because, I don't know, I guess it was bringing out things in me that I didn't even realize I had going on in my own head. But I was just kind of like, it's just one of those things that maybe he should have given her a heads up once she was in the picture. Like, okay, now we're working with this chick. By the way, before anyone else tells you, like, that would have been nice. But I understand. And so I thought that was like a really real relationship type thing that was going on in this book, and I liked it.
So after, I agree. After they have that and they've been training there, Violet's been working her little hiney off with Jasenia and Dane, because Dane speaks apparently every language known to man.
Yes, and by the way, Dane is fully redeemed. He's on our side now.
Yes. And they've been working so hard to transcribe the journals of the original writers, which there's a character that neither of us have mentioned this entire time. He's in here, isn't he?
What character?
Their friend who...
Oh, he shows up this year.
Lives a second life. He's the first year this year. Yes.
Auric? It's Aaric?
Yes, he is a first year. I
forgot about him, yes.
And he is the king's son, one of the king's sons. And he wants to like make his own name. He wants to do whatever. So he joins under a different name so no one can figure him out.
But Violet knows because she apparently is very close with the family.
Knew them. And he helps them steal the journals of the first writers. So Violet, Dane, and Jasenia, when they're at Orisha, they are like, okay, we think we know how to put, like, how do we get the wards up? Because that's the problem, is Orisha is going to just be leveled out.
Yes.
And so they get to the point where they're like, okay, like, we have to figure this out. Like, things are about to get bad. And they think it's like, we need, you know, the 6 most powerful riders, and they put blood on the stone and do all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. So they haven't necessarily figured out what puts the wards up, and all of a sudden it's like, the guy who can see the outcome of battles. I can't remember
his name.
Leadership guy's name.
Kaori?
Oh, he's a good one.
Yeah.
He's a dragon guy, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's the one that knows all the lore.
Yes. But there's one guy but his problem is he can't see the outcome of battles that involve too many marked ones.
Yes.
So they get word that essentially he sees the outcome of Orisha? I want to say it's anyway, they think like, oh, the Venin are going to attack here. And somehow they piece it together like, no.
It's going to be the college.
It's going to be the college. So they make the decision back in Orisha, like, as much as we left them, we've got to get our asses back up there and help them. Because 1, they don't know it's coming.
Yeah.
2, we know basically, you know, we've been researching the wards, we've got all this stuff.
And it's like, if they lose their wards, there's no hope for us.
Yes. And also someone we just went like shoop and skated over. Before they go back to Orisha, someone is reintroduced.
How did we forget this?
Reintroduced in the middle of a lecture.
Yeah, he just walks on in.
Is Jack Barlow.
Back from the dead.
And that's when you learn Nolan's been working his hiney off on Jack Barlow. Mending him. So anyway, that's important to know, because obviously Jack stays at the college. He does not go with them to Orisha.
No. And then the whole time, Violet is just waiting for him to come kill him. And everyone's like, no, he's a changed man.
He's a changed man.
But you know, as a reader, that it is just a matter of time.
Oh, yeah.
With this one.
So they get their heinies going, and they realize they've got to get up there. Now,
we also have not talked about Andarna.
Oh, yeah. Andarna's been sleeping.
She's been sleeping. She's going through her, like, teenage phase or something, and she has to sleep. She's growing exponentially fast.
It's like she's hibernating.
Yeah, she's hibernating, and so we don't hear much from her until it's necessary. And there's a quote from hers that I pulled out. Did you get a Jack Barlow one?
No.
What are you looking for?
My next quote, but you might have one before me.
What page is yours?
651.
No, I'm 746.
Okay, so my last quote was, let me get some background here.
Yeah. Because we were talking about second signets. Oh, I know.
They're talking in their heads.
Yes.
And I'm trying to like piece together because they're in their heads so that oh yeah. This is in regards to Xaden's, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So on 640 is when she figures it out.
Okay, so she figures out Xaden's second signet because I still can't pronounce her name. His dragon was
Sgaeyl. I was saying Sgaeyl.
I always say Sgaeyl, but there's...
And then I heard someone say Sgaeyl, and I'm like, they probably are right. But I'm going to continue reading Sgaeyl. Sorry.
She was with one of his relatives, so Violet's like, oh, because she pieces together. I can't remember if it's Bodhi or Garrick she learns about first. I think it's Garrick, actually. Garrick can, like, teleport.
Yes.
He just, like, snaps his fingers and he's gone.
He was getting places really fast, and she was like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. That's not possible. And he was like...
Yeah, so then she starts to piece together, and she finally learns that Xaden, he can read people's intentions, which qualifies him under the category of an
intrinsic,
which they just off once they figure out that these people are in this category, except Dane. Does Dane fall in that category because he has to touch someone?
He has to touch someone to read their minds.
But they were like, we can use Dane because his dad's the colonel and he'll do what we say. But anyway.
Yeah.
So she finds that out. She's, of course, like, oh my God, why didn't you tell me? Blah, blah, blah. And then we have the whole debate again. But I just like this quote from Tairn, actually.
Oh, I thought it was a Xaden quote.
No. But you can, if you have one on that page.
Yeah.
I like when Tairn says, like, there's going through the heads and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. You know, Xaden's like, I lack a certain element of self-control with you. The bond makes it way too easy to send your attentions without ever realizing it. Like, so you start to realize, like, some of the things Xaden's done, it's because he's known, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I like when Tairn says, I could torch him if you'd like, Tairn offers, but you do seem attached. Because Tairn with Garrick and Riddick, like, he just inserts these little tidbits. What were you going to say?
So... basically, she's saying to him, like, and yet you know everyone's secrets, don't you? Everyone's intentions. And she's thinking to herself, she doesn't say it out loud, but she's thinking, like, you know, how many times has he read me? How many thoughts has he eavesdropped on? Do I actually love him? Or did he say what I just wanted to hear? And then he stops her thinking, and he goes, less than a minute. That's how long it took for you to fall out of love with me.
Yeah.
And I was like, huh.
So they get their heinies back up to the War College because the thing is going to just diminish and fall.
Yeah.
And they get up there. They are finally able to, like, the leadership is like, okay, you're right. Let's get this under control. You know, fourth wing, you go here. This is your section. This is your section. This is your section. Brennan comes with them. So you have the Brennan mother interaction, which is interesting.
Yeah, he's rough to her.
He is very rough.
He's rough to her.
And then...
oh, my stomach.
You can stop me if you need to, but I'm just going to summarize quickly. The Venin do attack.
Yep.
Sawyer gets gravely injured in this attack.
Yes.
And during this attack, they have an issue with... Brennan is at the Wardstone. That is at the college.
And I think that's where she has... Where does she have Andarna go? Well, that's another thing in this book. Auric at some point says to Violet... Was it in this book? At some point, he says to her... Or is it
I don't know.
I can't remember now. Because, like, as they're in this battle or whatever... He says something about, like, you need... Or I don't know. I don't know if I'm thinking about the third book. Because I could have swore it's in this book where he tells her that you need to be with the...
No, that's the third book.
Okay. Because they put Andarna... Did they put her by the Wardstone? They put her somewhere.
Yeah.
She's like, I want you to protect this area. And Andarna's like, arguing.
I think what you're thinking is he talks about going to a certain temple.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was in the third book?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, but I felt like he said something in this one too, and now it's going to drive me crazy.
So we do have her place specifically because of her power and everything happens. And the Wardstone...
Yeah, she's in like this pit or whatever.
Yes.
And she starts talking to Andarna. And she's talking about like her, because her scales have been changing, her color has been changing, and she's just like, what's going on? But she figures out that Andarna is a different type of dragon.
Yes, Andarna is very unique. She's
very
her own
unique
species.
She's her own species, yeah. And basically, at one point, Violet's like, you could have told me this. And she said, if you didn't figure out, you weren't worthy of knowing. Yeah. And then she says, I waited 650 years to hatch, waited until your 18th summer when I heard our elders talk of the weakling daughter of their general, the girl forecasted to become the head of the scribes, and I knew you would have the mind of a scribe and the heart of a writer. You would be mine. You are as unique as I am. We want the same things.
Which is important because 650 years ago is when they figured out there was like they knew how to defeat the Venin. And so that timeline matches up.
Yeah. And it's like, if you already weren't thinking that she was meant for something.
Yeah.
Now, but it's also like a lot of these people talking freaking riddles. It's like, what is it that she's meant for?
Yep.
And I get it. We'll keep going.
So then,
getting ahead of myself.
We're in the battle.
Yep.
And we're at the Wardstone, and Jack Barlow just appears with his dragon, which is wild because Jack is like, I'm going to bring down this Wardstone. And then you're like, oh, who are you working for?
Yep.
And then you're like, oh, Jack, you're Venin. This is getting weird. Yep. Jack, like, slits the throat of his dragon.
His own dragon.
Which should kill him, but because he's Venin, he doesn't. Mm-hmm. And then the dragon blood is on the stone, and then the stone's like, and then the stone, I don't know, there's all this magic, and the wards fail, and all this stuff happens, and they're like, we need to power back up the stone. And this whole time, we've also had this first year that's Liam's sister.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, it's like, Violet is ready to just sacrifice herself to get this Wardstone up. Brennan is like trying to mend it, but he can't get it mended. He needs more power. Violet's ready to sacrifice. Xaden's off doing something.
Yeah, he's fighting.
At the same time, he can understand that Violet is about to sacrifice herself for the Wardstone. But what really happens, which Xaden doesn't know, is that her mother uses Sloane, because Sloane's a siphon, and I still don't friggin' understand that. She can like siphon people's power, some crap, I don't know. Her mom sacrifices herself and her power to power back up the Wardstone, to bring the wards back up, which essentially kills her mother. So just as we got the redemption of her mother, she sacrifices herself and dies.
But she says, as soon as my power, Aimseer's power, lives within the stone fire, it raised the wards. There's nothing I wouldn't do to keep you safe. Don't you understand? Everything was to get you to this moment when you'd be strong enough. So again, you're like, just tell her what was the plan.
So that works. The wards come back up. Jack just like, they capture him, but he's just like scurries off somewhere before they capture him. I don't really know where he ends up. But they do have him captured at one point.
They capture him and they put him in like the dungeons or something.
Because they talk about him in the third book. But the worst part comes at the end.
And I had to read it twice because I didn't understand it at first. I didn't. I read it and I went, no! And then I went, wait, what? Wait, what? And I read it a second time, and then I understood. I truly understood what happened. And then I screamed no. And I'm not going to lie. I took this book and I threw it across the room.
Are you talking about Xaden?
Yes.
Okay. I was like, I just wasn't sure.
Yeah. Because I think what was happening was, in a lot of fantasy books, the end is full of a lot of action. Like a lot of things are happening. And so I found myself kind of like, I knew I was getting to the end, so I wanted to finish. And I found myself reading really fast, and like mom died, and now I'm crying about mom, and then I'm wondering about like the plan. Literally, mom dies on page 752, 758 is bombshell.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like a lot of things are happening. Jack Barlow has been captured, and Brennan is crying, and
mind you, the Wardstone is like underground. They're so far away and like secluded from where Xaden is. Xaden can't, like, he and Violet cannot communicate right now. Things are not happening very well for them. And like I said, Xaden thinks that she's about to sacrifice herself.
Yeah.
While this whole time, Xaden has been fighting with a Venin.
Yeah. And then Andarna's like, Xaden needs you. You need to go. Yes. You need to go to him. And I'm thinking, great, now what's happened, you know? And she tells him, you know, like, we bought the wards, and he's like, good, it's safer for you here. This is where we should be. You won't be as scared under the full wards. And you're like, what is happening, you know? And he goes, you love me. She goes, you know I do. And what's out there that I should be scared of, Xaden? What did he tell you? What did you see? So he fought this Venin, right? This big guy. And she goes, slowly he drags his gaze up my body, and it feels like it takes years for him to just look at me. When he finally does, I gasp, my hand tightening on his and reflects. Me, he whispers, a faint, almost indistinguishable red ring emanating from his gold flecked onyx irises. You should be scared of me. And it took me a minute to realize, I read that last line, I was like, why am I scared of him? And then I had to read the line again, the red ring emanating from his eyes.
So essentially, when he thinks that Violet is going to sacrifice herself, he's fighting this Venin, and the Venin, I don't know if I can't remember if they're communicating or what happens, but the Venin is like, you can save her by channeling, because the Venin really are very interested in Xaden and Violet. Like, they're powerful.
Yes, but the one that they call it the Sage?
Yeah.
He's like the master of all, which is why I was thinking about Voldemort, I guess.
Yeah.
Get my book back. I threw.
Yeah. So it was like super important Venin, the Sage, and he just says like, all you need to do is channel.
Yeah.
And because Xaden thought Violet was about to die,
yeah, he did.
He does, and then, oops, she didn't die. Her mom sacrificed herself. Xaden, just chill out. That's one thing I don't like about the ending of this book, is because then like we go into the third book, and then it's just like, oh my god, it's like, I get it, like you're in love, but could you just have waited a couple minutes?
Yeah, like just verify. There's a bond. There are dragons that can find out some information. You know, they're a little reckless with their love for each other.
Yep.
And so that's how this ends. Xaden is Venin. So where do we go from here?
Oops, I didn't mean to close that tab. I thought it was interesting to look at. I was on Goodreads. Okay, so what do you think the rating of the first book was?
Ooh, there's no half, right?
Yeah, they get like down to the 100th. There's a 10th and a 100th.
Really? I would say 4.5.
Yeah, it's 4.58. Okay, what do you think Iron Flame was?
That one's hard. I gave it 5. So 4.8?
4.37.
Oh, you think it's because he turned Venin? People are mad.
I wonder if it's the in-between part of the book. The back and forth.
Okay.
And I know we haven't touched on it, but out of curiosity, for a second I could not remember the title. What do you think the third book's rating is?
4.7.
4.23.
People, what's happening?
Goes down.
What's happening?
I mean, I've heard like a lot of critiques, but here's my thing, and I wanted to bring this up with Goodreads ratings. Excuse me, is there's so like when I look at a rating that's like a low rating, it this is gonna sound so bad to me. It feels like it's those people who intentionally don't want to like what people like.
I can see that. Yeah.
Do you remember like growing up, and I mean it's in the adult world too, like people, they want to be different and like, okay, be yourself, do whatever, but some people just be different to be different. It's not what they actually like.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm wondering with some of these ratings. And like I see it on TikTok and whatnot, people reading like or critiquing and things like that. And it's just like, are you just doing that because everyone else loves it and you don't?
Maybe.
And you want to be different? But yeah, I thought that was interesting is as the series has gone down, the Goodreads ratings have gone down.
I'm surprised by that because there's just been so much discussion about it, so much excitement. Even after the third book, people like, when are we going to get the next one? I want to know what's
happening.
People
were very like emotional after the third book, all this stuff. Yeah, 4.23, whatever I said.
Wow.
I know, because, I mean, and we can talk about it later, but like...
But I guess it just goes to show that maybe nothing really captures that feeling like you have in the first book.
I think so.
And I think what ends up happening, now that I think about it, is that, you know, and we have all these theories, and then when your theories are debunked by the author, maybe you're a little disappointed. It doesn't feel like that's how it should be. Maybe people get too caught up in their own idea of what the book should be.
But yeah, I just thought that was interesting.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I think I gave them all 5 stars.
I think I did too.
I just really had so much fun with it. And like I told you in the last time we talked about it, ACOTAR Who, that's how I'm feeling at this point. I really, really love this series.
Yeah.
Really, truly.
Which I don't know if there's even a date for the 4th book yet or what.
No.
I don't hold on to those because if anything, Sarah J. Maas is just giving us a big FU.
What's today? Today is the 15th. I've been seeing a lot online that the 20th or the 21st has some sort of...
They thought the 6th did.
Yeah. It's kind of, it makes me feel like Taylor Swift and Reputation all over.
All those books started popping up, those giant books, and they were like looking, will she sign page? Whatever.
Or something like that. Yeah, I think we just want something. But so let's get into some fan theories and speculation. So her second signet, people were talking about like, because Andarna has like this camouflaging scales that maybe she's got some sort of ability to like absorb other signets or has some sort of abilities like that, like her eyes change or whatever. I didn't notice any whispers of anything like that in the book. What I did notice is that she was having weird dreams throughout the book. And again, I was in a little Harry Potter mind, and I just felt like dreams are always important. Like there's some sort of connection to somebody else. Yeah. So in the moment I was thinking, is somebody giving her those dreams like on purpose, or is she tapping into something? Yeah. So my theory is that like she's got something with her dreams, but maybe that's a bigger power that she has that allows her to do dreams, and maybe there's something else that she can do. But I think that it's definitely connected to dreams.
And her first signet took so long to manifest.
Yep.
And with Andarna being in her teenage phase and like going into hibernation, like it's not a surprise that like this is gonna take a while.
Exactly. But she keeps having those nightmares of the sage that I think ends up having that battle with Xaden. And again, I was just like, is that sage putting it in her mind like the way Voldemort put in things in Harry's, or did she have a connection with him?
Correct me if I'm wrong. She hasn't physically seen that sage yet, has she? Or did she see him during the attack?
I think she... Was that the one that attacked her?
I don't remember.
Put that blade in her or whatever?
It just makes me... I can't remember who did that, but it made me think of like, for us as normal people in the real world, you can't dream
about someone you didn't see.
Someone you haven't seen. I don't know. I don't know if she has seen him. I can't remember who puts the blade in her.
Yeah, I don't know if she saw that. And that's why I was like, I was nervous about these dreams, and I was nervous that she never told Xaden about these dreams. or anybody, because I was like, this is clearly a sign of something that's coming. And so I think there's some connection there.
Yeah.
Then the other theories and speculation is about her dad. I started wondering if, once Brennan was alive, I felt like all bets were off. Anybody could be alive.
And Jack.
But, yeah, and then Jack comes back. But when Mom died, she did say something about, like, I get to see him again.
Yeah.
And so that made me feel like...
I do think Dad is dead.
I think he really is dead. But I think he is very important.
Yes.
And there's information that he has that is going to be...
Even after book 3, people still speculate that he's alive. But I truly do think he's dead.
I don't think the mom would have said, I'm going to see him now, if he wasn't.
What is she going to lose on her deathbed? If
Exactly.
Exactly.
But I do think they knew a lot, and I just wish they were a little more forthcoming with what they knew. Then we have Xaden's transformation, about him being Venin. I'm going to tell you, my biggest fear is that she's going to have to kill him. I know everybody thinks that she's going to save him and find a cure. They say there's no cure for. Maybe that's what her power is, having the ability to cure it. But he is always saying in the book, you're going to be the death of me. He says it in
you have to know how to find me, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And I get the sense that Rebecca Yarros is a lot more cruel than Sarah J. Maas. Because Sarah J. Maas brings you to the brink. And anyway, in the ACOTAR books, I haven't finished the other books. But she brings you to the brink where you think the people you love who are supposed to be together are going to be ripped apart. And then something happens and then they're okay. But I feel like with Rebecca, I don't know if she's going to do that. And that's my fear, is that she's going to have to kill him.
It's hard to speak on these things having read the 3rd book.
Yeah. I'm thinking that even after reading the 3rd book.
I don't know. I have no comment.
Okay. Listen, when I read this book, I wrote this, and that was my fear.
Okay, I will love, we can deep dive so hard into the theories in the next book. Right now, I'm, so hesitant because I'm like...
Yeah.
No comment on that one.
Okay.
I will comment when we do
we can comment next time on all these theories. So they say it's supposed to be 5 books. There's only been 3 so far. Not really sure what she will do in 4 and 5. How that will even come about.
4 is going to be a train wreck.
Yeah, it is.
An emotional one.
Yeah, that's why I'm scared. But yeah, and then there's word about an Amazon series. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not excited about it, and I don't want it.
No. Here's the thing. Harry Potter. So you just nitpick everything that wasn't included and whatnot.
Yeah.
And for me,
I think most of Harry Potter did a very good job. Yes. But they also left out so much that as a book lover, you wanted to see certain things and you didn't get it. And I know they're doing this HBO Max series. I'm not into it because I already have in my brain now these certain people as the characters.
Yep.
But also, I loved the book so much that that's good enough for me.
And that's how I feel about when it comes to fantasy series. Sorry, let me go back. When it comes to romantasy series, I'm not interested in movie shows, things like that, because I'm sorry, I need them to look a certain way.
Yeah. My fantasy.
Exactly. And I don't mean that in a terrible way, but this is how I picture them. Some of the fan art, that's great. That's in my head too. I love that. Some fan art is no, that's not who it is. And that already bothers me, just like fan art.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit down and be like, that's not Xaden. That's not Riddick.
And then you're automatically, you're out. That doesn't fit for me. And now, that's all I'm going to be fixated on. But also, there's just so much in these books that it is such a world. Some things would be cool to see, but I've built so much of it in my own head that no one can recreate that but me.
Yeah. There is some really great fan art.
Oh, yeah.
That people have created that I'm like, okay, I like that. That's how I picture it.
That matches what was in my head.
Sometimes they bring it to life, like AI, and that freaks me out a bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. But some of them are pretty good.
But the art is different because they're going off based exactly what's in the book. And they've got some really amazing skill and talent to match that.
Yeah.
That's really hard to find in a human being.
Yeah.
As an actor. You know,
an
actor can play anything because they're actors, but to match the exact specific thing, like when they got what's his name for Harry Potter? What's his name?
You talking about Harry?
Yeah.
Daniel Radcliffe?
Daniel Radcliffe. He looks like Harry Potter.
Yeah. Ron?
Yeah. It was kind of, with Hermione, I imagined someone a little rougher because she had her buck teeth.
Did I tell you that I saw Emma Watson in person once?
What? When and where?
Hilton Head Island, South Carolina.
What?
Yeah, twice.
What?
So my family vacation there every year. My mom plays tennis, and like, I think that was the first time we saw her. She was playing tennis at the same place, Sea Pines, where my mom plays, because like, whatever. And she was there playing tennis, and then in line to get ice cream.
What year was this?
I don't know. My mom would remember way better than me.
Oh my
It
God.
was. So for me, it wasn't as crazy as an experience because I hadn't read them yet. My mom knew who it was, but I hadn't read the books yet.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's not really super ingrained into my brain.
Oh my God, you could have met Hermione.
I was just like, oh, cool.
Oh, cool, an actress. Oh my God, there's some Kira lore that I didn't know about.
Sometimes I forget about that.
That's fun.
Actually, a lot of times I forget about that.
You guys still go to South Carolina? When did you guys stop that?
Last time I went, I was in college, but my family has gone since. Anyway, I just thought about that.
Wow.
I know. You're reading Throne of Glass right now. I need to get to Crescent City.
Yeah, I'm on book 2 of Throne of Glass.
I'm dragging my feet.
It's taken me a long time, mainly because work is destroying my brain cells.
Yeah.
But we're getting close to summer break, so hopefully I'll be able to get into that. But I'm also feeling like after I read book 2, and I'm enjoying it, that I'm kind of missing a mystery. It's been a while since I've read a nice little quick read mystery, and I really want to read one. I have several. Let me look at my Goodreads. I have several sitting on my dresser at home. Where's my Goodreads?
I have a Riley Sager upstairs.
I bought several, and I don't know why I do this because I didn't need to buy new books. I have where is it? I bought The Fury.
Oh, I just read that.
How was it?
Have you read him before?
Mm-mm.
I think you'll like it.
Okay, so I bought The Fury.
Do you like acting? Not like you acting, but like the idea of like people who are in plays and stuff?
Yeah.
Because your narrator is an actor, and so he makes so many freaking references to acting in plays.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, you'll be fine.
And then I also got The Push, because that was a book that someone had recommended to us when we were going over. Oh, wow.
It was on TikTok.
Yeah, when we were going over Verity.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got The Push because I wanted to like shout out somebody who had put that out there. And then I also got a book called The Gatsby Gambit. And that's because The Great Gatsby is one of my favorite books ever. And this book is like, it takes place after Gatsby has been killed, and his sister comes to West Egg, and she gets caught up in a murder mystery.
Oh.
Yeah, and so it's that time, the Gatsby era, and I love that. So I want to read that too.
You ever read The Silent Patient?
The Silent Patient?
It's the author that did The Fury.
No, I don't think so.
Oh my God.
Oh, why?
Read The Fury first.
Okay, let me put this on my list now.
He has written 3. He's written Silent Patient was his debut, and holy cow, was it a debut.
Really?
Then he did The Maidens, which was like not my fave, and then he did The Fury. I literally read The Fury in April. When I was in Michigan, when I was home, I read it.
Okay.
So it's fairly fresh in my head.
Okay.
But The Silent Patient is a really good one by him.
Okay, I'll put that on my list. But yeah, there's some, and I have other ones too. Like I think I still never read The Paris Apartment, and that's sitting in my room. And I think there's another one. And I'm like, I really need to stop buying books because I'm just adding to a list that I
I think I only have one book on that shelf that I haven't read. It's a Riley Sager. And I can't remember what it is. The House Across the Lake. Yeah.
That's on my list too.
It's got like green font.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have that.
Wait a second. Did I read that book? There's a lot of books that have similar type of titles.
That was like the Megan Miranda book you read?
Yes.
I thought I didn't read, and then I sat down at my layover in
the
Chicago.
Last Guest House?
Yeah. Sit down at my layover in Chicago, pull out that book. I'm like, wait a second.
It's on my want to read list, but it's reminding me, the title is reminding me of another book. And I think it's something about like Pines Lake or The House in the Pines. And look, and it's a similar with the green. Did you read that? No. House in the Pines? That was an interesting
I saw it at Barnes & Noble the other day.
That was a good one. I don't know why I have it marked want to read. I'm pretty sure I read this. Yep, I read this already.
I need to get to Crescent City eventually.
Yeah.
Which you have quite the undertaking of Throne of Glass, so like you do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I need to get to Crescent City. I do have my friend Haley was reading ACOTAR and she was texting me like while she was reading ACOTAR, and now she's doing Crescent City, which I told her I'm kind of glad she's doing it first because Crescent City makes me nervous because
it's more futuristic.
Yeah, it's more futuristic, and I don't know what they call that certain subgenre of fantasy, but I'm just worried about doing that. And she's going straight from ACOTAR to Crescent City, which they overlap.
Did you ever read City of Bones?
You know, I feel like I did, but I feel like I didn't. I know what it is.
Yeah, that was futuristic, and I liked it.
I read City of Ember. That's what I'm thinking of. I don't think I read
City of Bones was a fun series. It was like the angels who mated with humans, and I forget what they're called now, but like you're half angel, half human, and it's it was like a crime.
I read City of Ember.
Okay. No, City of Bones. It was like several books, and it was good.
I can picture it.
Yeah, they made a series like on ABC Family or whatever. It was disappointing, and then there was a movie that was disappointing, and it didn't go very far. But that was futuristic, and I think I really liked it, so I have a feeling I would probably like Crescent City too.
Yeah.
But we are so ingrained in like all of these worlds that seem very far away and old-timey
that's what I feel.
It's hard to get out of that.
I just looked at the time, and we can laugh if when we put this out, it is because I can't read how much time is on that, but I know how much time we've been sitting. Like how much time?
Yeah, it's an hour and a half.
Okay. So it will be one episode. Yeah. I was like, holy shnikey, was this 2 hours long? We're going to have part 1, part 2 at this point.
We're going to cut it now. So if you're still hanging there with us, thank you for making it this far. Please like, rate, subscribe, share with your friends if they read these books. Give us some recommendations on other books that you would like us to go over. And please tell us your theories, your thoughts about these books.
The next one, the last book, will have a lot of theories at the end, which will be a good discussion because
we can talk.
No one has, we know. Anyway, okay.
All right.
Wow, that was a long one. Sorry about that.